What's up, guys? I know I'm making this video a day late. That's because I was busy. I had a huge exam this morning that I was pretty much studying for after the Saints playoff fate was decided. I was going to wait and make the video until after the afternoon games so I would know if the Saints made the playoffs or not. And to no fucking surprise, the Saints don't get the help they need and they missed out on the playoffs, which was expected. So I'm not too upset about that. But they absolutely rout the Atlanta Falcons 48-17. And regardless of how long you've been a Saints fan or, if you wanted to tank because you knew you weren't going to make the playoffs or whatever, none of that fucking matters, okay? At the end of the day, it's Saints versus Falcons, and if you're a real Saints fan, it's always fuck the Atlanta Falcons. And we whooped that ass on Sunday. Fucking excellent to see, 48-17. And it's a shame, too, because the biggest takeaway from this game amongst the media was what happened at the end with the fake kneel down with Jameis Winston. And we're going to talk about that in a second, okay? Now, obviously, the Saints don't make the playoffs because in the early window, the Bucs beat the Panthers 9-0 in a game where the Panthers fumbled out of the end zone for a touchback and then scored a touchdown and then got it called back and then immediately fumbled and then also missed a field goal. So many things that just didn't go their way, or else we would have been playing the Philadelphia Eagles in the wild card round. But yeah, that doesn't matter. At the end of the day, when it comes in, and I'm going to talk about the game in a second. I want to go ahead and get the playoffs out of the way because, this is what most fans have in their mind when they think about the Saints right now. At the end of the day, the path for you to have made the playoffs was right in front of you. We can look at so many games this season where we just choked. And most people will point to the Packers game, and I agree. The Packers game is the one. Like, if you had to pick one, the Packers game when you were up 17-0 and then Derek Carr got injured, and then Pete Carmichael decided to not allow the Saints to have a passing play that went for more than a first down. Like, he was fucking calling 5-yard slants on 3rd and 10. We were running the ball on 1st and 10, running the ball on 2nd and 10, and then we were passing on 3rd and 9 and not getting the first down. And then also Blake Grupe missing the field goal and the defense allowing 18 straight points. That's the game that we all look back on, because if you don't blow that lead, you're in the playoffs. You replace the Packers you'd be the division winner too. Not even just that, you would have won the NFC South. And we can also look back at the Texans game in which you were inside the Texans' 30-yard line 4 times in the second half and scored 3 points. I didn't forget about that either. And when you also called 4 straight fade route plays on your final 4 plays of the game. Didn't forget about that either. And let's not also forget the Jags game in which you had many opportunities to win. Not just the Foster Moreau drop touchdown, but also you threw a pick six, and there were many things that you did to lose that game. We can talk about the first Falcons game in which we went 0 for 5 in the red zone. We can talk about that. And then also the Lions game when you went down 21-0 in like 5 minutes. And that pretty much ruined any chance you had. We can talk about all these things. So the Saints don't deserve to make the playoffs, even with a winning record. And at the end of the day, it is what it is. The Saints are going to pick 14th in the draft. And we'll talk about the draft and all that eventually. But right now, we're going to talk about this game, 48-17. The offense was fucking firing today. Or yesterday, because I'm recording this on Monday. And it wasn't pretty at first because Desmond Ridder butted us in the first quarter. Bijan Robinson had like a 75-yard touchdown on a swing pass out of the backfield. Absolutely fucking unacceptable. Alontae Taylor has had some very odd plays. He's had some very interesting games lately because you have games like the Bucs game where he didn't have the best game in coverage, but he did have a pick. In the Rams game when he got absolutely cooked and then he got benched. But then in this game, he got cooked a lot this game. But then he had a pick in the second half that kind of altered the momentum. So, I guess good for Alontae Taylor for getting 2 interceptions the last 2 games. The offense was on fire, though. We saw A.T. Perry score 2 touchdowns. We saw Chris Olave had a juggling touchdown in the second half. Rashid Shaheed had a deep touchdown. Kendre Miller. Kamara didn't play this game, so it was pretty much Jamal Williams and Kendre Miller. And Kendre Miller is fucking good. He had that touchdown on the toss play. It was the same play that we used to run with Kamara. When we run the toss to the outside, like the 2-point conversion against at the time, the Redskins in 2017, that toss to the outside. Except Kendre Miller this time cut inside And there's a screenshot of when he's like 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and there's like 5 or 6 defenders like there ready to make a tackle. And he scored a touchdown on that play. Absolutely just fucking incredible play by Kendrick Miller. He looked good. It wasn't just that play either. He had many good plays in that game. Derek Carr had 4 passing touchdowns this game. He was actually really fucking good. I'm not even going to lie. As much as y'all know I do not like Derek Carr. I was actually correct when it came to Derek Carr saying that we would be destined for mid and that we're basically settling to be mid. I mean, that's what we got. We're 9-8. It don't get much more mid than that. 8-9, 9-8. I mean, we were mid. We turned up at the end of the season, but we were ultimately mid, you know. And I mean, shout out to Derek Carr for since week 13 against the Lions. That's really when I found that he started to play really well as a Saints quarterback. You know, he had some 3 touchdown games at the end of the season. He finally has a 4 touchdown game, so I think that puts him up to 25 touchdowns and 8 interceptions on the season, which on paper looks good, but also at the end of the day, you got to actually play good the first 12 weeks for it to actually matter, because the Saints just ended up missing the playoffs, and you got to fucking play well those first 12 weeks. I mean, you just have to, but it is what it is. Shout out to Derek Carr. Like I said, he had played a great game. This is probably his best game of the season with 4 passing touchdowns. Didn't do much in the fourth quarter, but he didn't have to. Receivers look good. I think A.T. Perry may actually be a solid Michael Thomas replacement. And don't get upset when I say that, because I'm not saying A.T. Perry will ever be anything like prime Michael Thomas. But I'm talking about when it comes to, contested catches in the middle of the field, contested touchdown grabs, basically contested catches in the big body type of receiver. I think we'll see that out of A.T. Perry, and I'm proud of what we saw. Because that touchdown when he absolutely mossed A.J. Terrell, that's exactly what Michael Thomas used to do. We all know Michael Thomas used to absolutely abuse A.J. Terrell. I mean, look back at last season. And then also in 2020 when Michael Thomas was playing on one ankle and he abused A.J. Terrell twice. So excellent game from A.T. Perry. All the receivers, too. I mean, the offense in general was great. Defense had, moments where they turned up in the second half. Now, let's talk about that situation at the end of the game when Tyrann Mathieu gets an interception. Doesn't know if he wants to score or not, so he gets down to the 1-yard line. And then Dennis Allen calls victory formation, kneel down. And Jameis Winston says, no, we're going to get Jamal Williams a touchdown. Or he collectively, as a team, they decided they were going to get Jamal Williams a touchdown. And honestly, I fucking loved it. I see no issue with that. Because first of all, fuck the Falcons. Let's be petty and score out the touchdown, run the score up. Don't be down 41-17 in the first place if you don't want us to run up a score. But also, Jamal Williams is one of those players that the players love Jamal Williams, and they know he's been working his ass off all year. Although he's been mid this season, he worked his ass off, and he deserved a touchdown. I can get down with that, And Dennis Allen didn't stand on business, and he fucking apologized and folded to the media, and I think that's a terrible look. I think this shows the discourse that the players have with Dennis Allen. Now, I don't think it's a situation where he necessarily lost the locker room, because if he had lost the locker room, the Saints wouldn't have won 4 of their last 5 to try to make a playoff push. And the Saints wouldn't have fought hard in games where they were getting destroyed in to make it close. Like the Vikings game, the Jags game, the Lions game. You don't see those fake comebacks happen if they quit on the locker room. You know what I'm saying? But it is a discourse. You can tell the players are still kind of fed up with Dennis Allen. And, we're stuck with, if y'all think Dennis Allen's going to get fired, he's not. I think it's already confirmed he's head coach for next season, which sucks. Pete Carmichael could be gone today, though. He hasn't been fired yet, but he could be gone in the next couple days. So hopefully we'll look out for that. I hope he didn't save his job in the last few weeks, because he doesn't deserve to be the play caller next year. But I agree with the play call. I see no problem with it. The Falcons head coach, Arthur Smith, who got fired last night, actually, he's a fucking loser for bitching and Dennis Allen at the end of the game. Get out of here, bro. Like, come the fuck on. You don't lose that bad because they had playoffs in the line too this game. If the Bucs had lost and the Falcons had won, they would have been in the playoffs. So in a must-win game, don't get your ass beat by us. It's a fucking rivalry. Y'all do petty shit like that too. They probably would have done the same thing. So you know what? Fuck the Atlanta Falcons. We ran that bitch up. We own y'all. It's just how it's gonna be. Jameis Winston is the GOAT for calling that play. I love Jameis Winston. It's a shame that he probably won't be here next season, but at the same time, he deserves to start somewhere. So I do honestly hope he leaves. If he stays, I'll be happy because I love Jameis, but I don't think he was ever given his fair chance. Like I've said many times last season, I don't think he got his fair chance after he got injured, and I think he deserved another shot. And I think some team should look to signing him to be their starting quarterback, and just so we can get another chance. But that's the Saints season. They went 9-8, no playoffs. They're going to pick 14th in the draft. It's going to be an interesting offseason. Like I said, you're still going to have Derek Carr. You're still going to have Dennis Allen as head coach, hopefully a new offensive coordinator. There's been some Marshawn Lattimore trade rumors going around. People are, for some reason, very certain the Saints will trade Lattimore. I don't see how that makes sense at all. Not only because Lattimore is an elite corner in his prime still, but the Saints actually recently restructured his contract to where it's actually more difficult for them to trade him. So I just don't think that makes any sense for the Saints to do. I don't think it'll happen. But if I'm wrong, I'll eat my words and say I'm wrong. But, at the end of the day, was the Saints season a success? No. Obviously, I predicted the Saints to go 10-7, and that was one game short. If they didn't blow a 17-0 lead, it would have been 10-7. But, like I said in March when we signed Derek Carr, when you have a mid-tier quarterback and bottom barrel of the league coaching staff, even with the easiest schedule in the NFL, you can't expect much. And I expected 9-8, 10-7, and what we got is 9-8, 10-7. And we were very inconsistent. Even going 4-1 in our last 5 games doesn't matter. But, I do like what I saw from the Saints at the end of the season, but we also got to be honest with ourselves. Is that going to translate to next year? I don't know, because, look at last season. We won 3 of our last 4 games, and obviously we did not see that translate to this season because we saw our defense be elite against bad teams. And then, they let Josh Dobbs destroy them. How do you let that happen? He got benched. You let Jordan Love score 18 straight points against you in the fourth quarter. Although Jordan Love's not bad, but the Packers were not good at that point in the season. So, come on. There's so many missed opportunities this season. 3 straight years of no playoffs. It sucks. So it's crazy, too, because we've had a winning record 2 of those seasons, and we've made no playoffs. But, those 3 seasons you're going to look back on, there's always that one game that the Saints blew, which made them miss the playoffs. This season, it was the game against the Packers, up 17-0. Last season, it was that game in Tampa Bay on Monday night. Although we had a very bad record, we still could have won the NFC South. And Mark Ingram going out of bounds 1 yard short and blowing a 16-3 lead is what cost you the playoffs that year. Then in 2021, against the Giants, I know y'all remember that game when Jameis Winston was still starting and Sean Payton was still the coach. We were up 21-10 on the Giants with about 6 minutes left and we lost in overtime. So it's always those games you look back on as why we missed the playoffs, and that's just how it is. I sadly don't see much changing next season. For the most part, it'll be a similar team. I don't think Michael Thomas will be here next season. I think Kamara will be here. Not sure. Cam Jordan, not sure. Demario Davis is going to come back. Tyrann Mathieu, I think, will be back. I expect Lattimore to be back. I think you'll have most of your core guys still here. And I honestly don't expect much next season. But this season had some ups. It had some downs. And we went out with a fucking bang. We beat the Atlanta Falcons. We beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I'm happy with the way we ended the season. But this season was definitely not a success. It was a failure in many ways. But at the end of the day, the Saints are going to be the Saints. And that's just how it is. So thank you guys for keeping up with my content and watching all these videos during the season. It is kind of bittersweet that this is the last post-game recap I'm going to make this season because obviously that's the end of the season. I'm sure I'll be making some off-season videos here and there, but don't expect much. I'm going to have a bunch of highlight videos coming out, all touchdowns scored this season, all turnovers. I'm going to have highlights of individual players like Kamara, Olave, Demario Davis, all of our star players. Y'all going to get some highlights for that. And, once the draft comes around, I'll make videos for the draft. When we sign people in free agency, I'll make videos for that, most likely. And when the schedule comes out, I'll make a video for that, training camp to get hyped up for next season. But that's the end of the Saints 2023 season. I went on for a lot longer than I thought, but this turned out to be a game recap and a season recap kind of video. Sucks how the season ended with no playoffs, but like I said, it just is what it is. Thank you guys for watching. I will be back next season to make more Saints videos for y'all in this offseason. So thanks for watching. It's Who Dat forever, Who Dat. And see you guys for the next video.